We have it. We have one. I think we're 7. We got way more than 7. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I got 9 at least, right? 10. If you wish, we're about to start. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll go ahead and call this meeting of the House Higher Education Committee meeting to order. We have 2 items before us this afternoon. We're going to go in reverse numerical order here, since Senator Tippins, Chairman Tippins is with us, and hear from the Senator on Senate Bill 161. Senator, we're going to be working from the one you sent over, LC 337810S. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. This is a very simple bill. I will explain the current situation. Currently, under current practice, those students in high school who are taking AP courses, International Baccalaureate courses, or dual enrollment courses, those 3 categories, they get an extra half-point credit in the calculation of their GPA for eligibility for Hope Scholarship or Hope Grant, as it may be. This has a long history. At one time, there was extra credit that was counted for honors courses, AP courses. The legislature did away with all of that. They came back at one time. They came back at a later date, and they said we're going to give dual enrollment extra credit. Excuse me. We're going to give extra credit for AP and IB courses. 2 years later, I believe, they came back and added dual enrollment to that. But the current practice has been those students that are making a B, a C, or a D get an additional half-point credit. Those students getting an A don't. And I think the reason for it was the law at the time they started giving it said all this will be computed on a 4.0 grade point average. And so that was interpreted to be a cap. I think when you agreed to give extra credit for these courses, it should apply to an A. To me, it makes much more sense to give a student additional credit for an A than it does a D. I'm not trying to take away the students that are the D students, but I think if you're going to give a half-point credit to a D student, you ought to give it to an A student since they are striving for academic excellence. That is the sum and substance of the bill. This, in my mind, of fairness to those students who've made A's and give them some recognition and also help in calculation of Hope Scholarship eligibility. Be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, Senator. Do we have questions for the Senator? Anyone have a question? No questions? Senator, I don't know if we've given, I discussed with you, when it comes time, I have an amendment that I'd like the committee to consider to clarify when this would take place. The amendment is AM 390269. And basically what the amendment would have the effect of doing is would make the bill effective upon signature of the governor, which would be a little bit earlier than it was before, and be clear that it would apply to all students graduating during the 2018-2019 year. I mean, it's before the committee if this is a policy we want to move forward on, but if we do, it seems like we shouldn't penalize somebody that's getting out now. So at the appropriate time, I would like the committee to consider that, and the Senator and I had spoken with it, and I believe you're fine with that. Yes, sir. All right. Well, either you or my amendment has posed some questions here. Now we have 4. I'm just going to go in order. Number 17, which is that Representative? Yes, ma'am. Representative Clark.
All right. So my question is actually about the amendment, just to clarify.
Yes,
I am a senior in high school right now.
Yes, ma'am.
This gets signed, I don't know, in 3 weeks. This applies to me right now this school year.
It would, yes, that is the intention of the amendment, and we can, I'll look at the attorney, I see her nodding her head in the affirmative that was the intent. And to be clear, it says upon signature of the governor or becoming law. Otherwise, the governor has 40 days after we get out sine die. So April 2nd plus 40 days is, give or take, May 10th or 11th, May 9th or 10th. I believe that the 40th day actually falls on a Saturday or Sunday. So we would know that fairly early. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. No, we're just going to go down in order. Number 19.
Let me
Chair-
say this, in
Yes,
all
sir.
likelihood, that calculation would not take place until the students' final grades are earned for the spring semester.
Yes, sir. Yeah, to be clear, I just meant it would apply. The bill would
apply to
have
that.
plenty of time to be effective. The grades would come in for this school year, and that was the idea. Chairman Jaspers, you have a question?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it's mainly to you, or I have a question for student finance, more so than Chairman Tippins, and are they gonna speak on this bill?
We can ask them to come up. Can we see if we have more questions?
Sure, absolutely.
I'll come back to you when we're ready for number 28.
I understand that you want to apply it for this year. Will this affect the VAL and the SAL? Because they just came out, like, I just got the ones for my school district. And if we put this out there, will that affect those grade point averages? Could that come back?
My understanding, and I've looked at student finance, my understanding is the valedictorian and the salutatorian from the school are computed within their school system, and it is independent from the calculation for the Hope Scholarship. So this would not impact the selection of those individuals.
Okay, thank you.
Number 25, did you have a question of the senator? Yes.
Thank you. Senator Tibbs, I just want to thank you. As a mother of 4 children who all dual enrolled, some who made A's and some who made B's, I always wondered the reason for this sort of discrepancy and how that was calculated. So I just want to thank you for bringing this legislation.
I really was not aware of it until a gentleman brought it to my attention. He lived in Gwinnett County. He said, why is it this way? And I told him, I said, well, I really was not aware that it was, but I'll look at it. So
Thank you again.
that's where it came from.
Yes, sir. Senator, that's all the questions we have at this point. I'm going to let, if you want to stay seated, student finance, if you would come to the podium mic there, and Chairman Jaspers has a question.
Thank you. I've got your,
I turned the wrong person on.
there you go, okay. Thank you, Interim President. I guess I need some history. I think when I first read this bill earlier today, I was surprised to see that dual enrollment would earn the .5. And where did that come from? Maybe Chairman Tippins, but where did that come from? And why are we doing that?
I don't know the full history or the year that was included offhand. My counterpart may very well, as he's looking through his papers. The rationale, I think, is that we are waiting, included in the HOPE GPA calculation are core academic courses for high school students. Weighted are AP courses, International Baccalaureate courses, and degree-level core dual enrollment courses, with the thinking that they are of a higher academic rigor standard, more along the lines of AP or IB than traditional high school coursework, and should be weighted the same as the AP or the IB.
So it's a select number of courses, not all.
It is not all. It is not career technical. It is core degree level.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So I have a question about the HOPE grant, because there is a GPA requirement for HOPE grant as well, correct?
Not for entry from high school. Basically, if a student graduates high school successfully and gets admitted into one of our institutions offering a HOPE grant eligible program, there is no GPA requirement so long as they maintain academic progress at a satisfactory level.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I see no further questions, except I still have Representative Gardner's light. Do you have a question, or are you ready to? Okay, if there are no further questions, I'll just ask again. We have before us Senate Bill 61, LC 337810S. What's the pleasure of the committee in regards to this item? I have a representative, I'm sorry, I have a representative with a motion. Save myself there, of a do pass motion to pass the bill. Is there a second? I think I heard a second in here. We have now before us, we now have before us this, and for discussion now, if the committee would like to take up the amendment, now would be the time for a move on the amendment. I have a motion and a second, do pass on AM 390269, is that correct? Is there discussion on the amendment? The vote before us will be called on the amendment. Is there discussion on the amendment, AM 390269? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Any opposed, no. The amendment carries. We now have before the committee the main question as amended. To do pass recommendation on LC 337810 as amended by AM 390269. Is there further discussion on this matter? Further discussion on the main question? Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor of the motion to pass with the amendment, we'll pass this out as a committee substitute. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. It is approved. It does move on to rules as a substitute, Mr. Senator. You know to get with the rules folks and ask for it to go on the consideration calendar. Thank you very much. Yes, sir. Thank you. We now have before us Senate Bill 91. I believe the senator, or the author of the bill, is doing the good work of the people, chairing Senate Finance and hearing some House measures. So if the committee does not object, we'll take that up with in the senator's absence. He had asked us if we could do that. This matter is before us as a substitute, LC 392227S. The matter is the same as we had before us prior. Does the committee wish to have a further presentation on this? I know there are some members that have to go. This is the exact same measure, but since it was by substitute last time and we had not had time to look at it, I wanted to give everybody a week. Have there been questions? Is there anybody here that wishes to speak on the matter? Well, I see two lights. I have a 19 and a 27 here. Do you guys want to have a question, or are you ready to? Your light was so. Chairman Jaspers.
Mr. Chairman, I guess is someone from MPEC here that oversees this?
Yes, sir. Please.
Thank you. Good to see you again. How many other, what's the appropriate word, non-public institutions providing services like this are exempt from this regulation, from your oversight?
In which part of the exemption are we talking about?
Well,
specifically the language of the
substitute
orthodontic school?
Yes, sir.
There's only one institution that falls under that language as of today.
Okay. How many others do y'all oversee? That there's quite a few of them, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, in total, I think there's something like 600 exempt institutions in the state of various exemptions.
Mm-hmm. And just this one. My curiosity is this surety bond, is that payable to you, and that's in case they fail to complete?
Correct. I mentioned this with, she just left, Representative Butler. Last week, as she mentioned, Argosy was an example. We held a surety bond of both of their campuses online and the Argosy Atlanta campus, and so with their failure, the idea is that we can access the surety bond as a way to help students if they have unearned tuition. And so the idea of this $450,000 I mentioned last week, I think Representative Park, was that if the institution is under our regulatory umbrella, they aren't exempt. They would have the $200,000 surety bond in our name, but then the students would also have access to $250,000 from our tuition guarantee trust fund. So that $450,000 surety bond is just essentially get the students to the point to where they would have the same access to the same amount of funds they would if they were still under our regulatory umbrella.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And if I may, just I can't remember. Were you here at our? I don't think
No,
you were able to make that. Give if you could just a few seconds. to talk about the other medical schools that fall under this and their accreditation, so that it's spread over the minutes here, what you did for us briefly last time, in terms of they're still being overseen by an accreditation body like other private medical schools, private medical colleges in Georgia.
Correct, right. So the way this is written, just like with many of our other exemption portions of our code, and a lot of institutions fit under that, they have to have some type of accreditation. Many of our exempt institutions have SACS accreditation or otherwise. Under this specific code section, medical schools have to be exempt by the liaison on medical education, whatever that is, and any future institutions would have to fit under that same thing. For this, for the orthodontic school or a dental school, they have to be accredited by CODA. So the accreditation, they must have that to be able to even fit under the exemption. If they aren't accredited, then they wouldn't fall under this code section, and they would have to be authorized like any other institution that's not accredited in the state.
Okay.
Thank you. Any further questions? Any further questions? We have before us then, if there's anyone in the public that would like to speak to the item, given the recent line of questioning, clarify anything, please. If you'd identify yourself and.
Sure. Callie Michael with the Georgia School of Orthodontics. Mr. Chairman, we have the accreditation process through the Commission on Dental Accreditation that qualifies us for. It just says the medical exemption is there. It is the equivalent to the Medical Liaison of Education Commission. So we have that oversight. In addition, our oversight through our hospital that we are affiliated with and through CMS. So there are, a couple of overseeing authorities that we have to be authorized by and meet their standards.
Thank you. No questions. The committee has before it LC 392227S as a substitute for Senate Bill 99. This time we'd take action on that if there's a motion on. I have a motion that this item moves on with the do pass recommendation. Is there a second? I have a motion and a second. Senate Bill 91 LC 392227S. Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing no discussion on the motion, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed, no. Motion moves forward with a do pass recommendation. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the business we have before us. At this time, I am not sure that we will have a reason to gather again as a committee during this session. So in the event we don't, let me thank everyone that has attended the meetings for us. Let me thank you all and ask you to do this for me as chairman. What I intend to do in the off session is to try to group us as a committee on 3 levels so that we can get out and communicate with our university system and our technical college system. That is a level, if you have a direct relationship with the university, i.e. you graduated from there, somebody your son or daughter or aunt or uncle graduated from there, you feel close to them. If you are in the home area of that institution, or if you are in a business or an area affiliated with that, with what that institution mission, because our institution and university system, down in South Georgia, one of their missions is the agricultural down south. So if you're in that business, so if you're interested in, connecting with Georgia Tech, Institute of Technology at Georgia Tech, with the University of Georgia, with Georgia Southern, if you have one of those 3, if you would just when we're going to get a form out to you, if you kind of fill in those boxes, or if you just have a general interest in it, that's fine. We're just going to try to take those 3 levels of data and try to line people up in groups to get with the university. So there's either a direct connection personally, there's a geographical connection, or there's a connection with you in industry, and try to connect with those those institutions at the university system level or our technical college system level so that we can have a good conversation with them. We'll, of course, get together as a full committee in the off session and do some trips to and visit with our institutions. But I think that would be something I would really be interested in if we could break down into groups and sort of share those 3 levels of connection with the various institutions and balance that out so we can hear about it. I'm very interested, and I think I've heard from you all about, what I'm calling the last 10 feet, what people are calling the last mile, whatever. People that don't quite get across the bay, when they're swimming, don't quite get to graduation. If you don't make it to the other side, you might as well have stopped in the middle. So we want to try to help people do that. And I think talking with the institutions, finding out what their graduates need at various levels in various industries and in various geographic places in the state will be a good way for us to kind of get on the ground and understand. So look for that before the end of the week. It'll be sort of a 3-level thing. I hope we're not trying to overcomplicate it, but we're trying to cover those 3 levels and attach that. I thank everyone for their time and attention. I know we compete with all your other matters up here, and remember, we all get to impact legislation on this committee. I guess I'm a bit biased. We get to impact people more than some of the other committees. I appreciate the opportunity to work with you all and look forward to doing so in the summer if we're not together again. Anything else before the committee? If not, again, my sincere thanks. If there's no objection, we'll stand adjourned without objection. I see none. We're adjourned.